What's up, y'all? It's Evan from DMV Sports Zone giving you another update on all things DMV sports. As per usual, we start with college football, but this time we're starting with the Navy midshipmen. So you didn't hear too much about Navy the last couple weeks. That's because they were on an extended bye. So for those that have gotten lost in the mix, let me catch you up on the mids. They are 4-7, 4-4 in the American Athletic Conference. They've clinched sixth place in the conference standing. Up next for the midshipmen is the annual classic, the Army-Navy game against the dreaded Army Black Knights. Army comes into this game at 5-6. Pretty much the same record as Navy. And now we got news on the Maryland Terrapins. So a little refresher on the Terps, 7-5, 4-5 in the Big Ten. Fourth place in the Big Ten East Division. For the second year in a row, Maryland's headed to a bowl game. And for the second year in a row, they will be facing an old ACC foe. This time, it's the Duke's Mayo Bowl against an old Atlantic Division foe this time, the 23rd ranked NC State Wolfpack. NC State this season, 8-4, 4-4 in the ACC. Fifth place in the Atlantic Division, which the Terps used to call home. And now we transition over to hockey and the Washington Capitals. So the month of December hasn't gotten off to a strong start for the Caps. A 5-2 loss in Calgary on Saturday is what happened last time they took the ice, thanks to a 3-goal third period for the Flames to break away. The loss drops the Caps to 10-12-4, 24 points. They've lost 2 in a row, and they're 6th place in the Metropolitan Division standings. Here's the week ahead for Washington. For the Capitals, the week begins tonight when they head to Edmonton to take on the Oilers. The Oilers come in at 14-11, 28 points, 4th place in the Pacific Division. Edmonton's coming off a 5-3 win over the Canadiens on Saturday, thanks to a 4-goal second period. This is the last of two between the Caps and the Oilers. Washington leads the season series 1-0 after beating Edmonton 5-4 in D.C. on November 7th. The Capitals will conclude their road trip on Wednesday when they head to Philadelphia to take on the Flyers. The Flyers are currently 8-12-5, 21 points, 7th in the Metro, ahead of only Columbus. Philadelphia is coming off a 3-2 loss to the Devils on Saturday. They've lost 2 in a row, and like the Caps, they're winless in the month of December. This is the second of 4 between the Caps and the Flyers. Washington again leads the season series 1-0 after beating Philadelphia 3-2 in overtime in D.C. on November 23rd. On Friday, the Capitals return home to host the Seattle Kraken. The Kraken are currently 15-6-3, 33 points, 2nd place in the Pacific behind only Vegas. Seattle's coming off a 5-1 loss to the Panthers on Saturday, a loss which snapped a 7-game win streak and an 8-game point streak for the Kraken. This is the last of 2 between the Caps and Seattle. Seattle leads the season series 1-0 after beating Washington 3-2 in overtime in Seattle on December 1st. And for the Capitals, the week concludes on Sunday when they head to Winnipeg to take on the Jets. The Jets are currently 15-7-1, 31 points, 2nd in the Central Division behind only Dallas. Winnipeg's coming off a 5-2 win over the Ducks on Sunday, which they scored 5 unanswered goals after falling behind 2-0. This is the first of 2 between the Caps and the Jets. Last season, Washington swept the season series against Winnipeg. Now we transition to basketball and the Washington Wizards. So for the Wizards, early as it may be starting to fall apart at the seams for the Wizards. A 130-119 lackluster performance against the Lakers on Sunday, in which Anthony Davis torched the Wizards for 55 points. The loss drops the Wizards to 11-13, tied with New York for 10th in the East, and they've lost 3 in a row. So here's the week ahead for Washington. For the Wizards, the week begins on Wednesday when they head to Chicago to take on the Bulls. The Bulls come in at 9-14, 12th in the East. Chicago's coming off a 110-101 loss in Sacramento on Sunday. Like the Wizards, they've lost 3 in a row, and they're winless in the month of December. This is the second of 4 between the Wizards and the Bulls. Washington leads the season series 1-0 after beating Chicago 102-100 in D.C. on October 21st. On Friday, the Wizards head to Indiana to take on the Pacers. The Pacers are currently 12-11, tied with Philadelphia for 5th in the Eastern Conference. Indiana's coming off a 116-100 loss in Portland on Sunday. They've lost 3 in a row, and they're also winless in December. This is the third of 4 between the Wizards and the Pacers. The season series is tied 1 game apiece. The other 2 times they met, Washington beat Indiana 114-107 in Indianapolis to kick off the season. The Pacers returned the favor with a 127-117 win over the Wizards in D.C. on October 28th. And for the Wizards, the week concludes on Saturday when they return home to host the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers are currently 13-11, tied with Golden State for 6th place in the Western Conference. LA is coming off a 123-96 loss to the Kings on Saturday. They've lost 2 in a row. They're also looking for their first win in the month of December. This is the first of 2 between the Wizards and the Clippers. Last season, LA swept the regular season series against Washington. And oh, by the way, this will be John Wall's first game back in D.C. with fans in the stands. So a lot of emotion will be at Capital One Arena on Saturday. Now we move to college basketball, and the third-ranked Virginia Cavaliers coming in at the same place they were ranked last week. Virginia opened up conference play on Saturday with a 62-57 win over Florida State, in which they outscored the Seminoles 41-35 in the second half after trailing 22-21 at halftime. The win improves the Cavaliers to 7-0, 1-0 in the ACC, and first place in the conference standings. So here's the week ahead for the Wahoos. For Virginia, only one game this week. That is Tuesday when they welcome in an in-state foe, the James Madison Dukes. James Madison comes in at 7-2. The Dukes are coming off a 97-80 win over Eastern Kentucky on Friday. Up next, let's talk about the 13th-ranked Maryland Terrapins, up 9 spots from last week. Maryland needed a statement win on Friday, and they got it, 71-66 over number 16 Illinois to open up conference play thanks to 24 points by Jameer Young, including the dagger to put Maryland up 4 with 14 seconds left. The win improves the Terrapins to 8-0, 1-0 in Big Ten play, and first place in the conference standings. So here's the week ahead for the Terps. For Maryland, the week begins on Tuesday when they head to Madison to take on the Wisconsin Badgers. Wisconsin comes in at 6-2, tied with Ohio State and Penn State for 5th place in the Big Ten standings. The Badgers are coming off an 80-77 overtime win at Marquette on Saturday, thanks to 19 points by Chucky Hepburn. This is the first of 2 between Maryland and Wisconsin. And for Maryland, the week concludes on Saturday when they head to Brooklyn to take on the 7th-ranked Tennessee Volunteers. Tennessee is currently 7-1. The Volunteers are coming off a 94-40 win over Alcorn State on Sunday. Up next, let's talk about the Georgetown Hoyas. So for Georgetown on Saturday, it was another helping of heartbreak, a 74-71 overtime loss to South Carolina. The loss drops the Hoyas to 4-5. They've lost 2 in a row now. Now here's the week ahead for G-Town. For Georgetown, the week begins on Wednesday when they welcome in the Siena Saints. Siena comes in at 5-3, 1-0 in the MAAC, first place in the conference standings. The Saints are coming off a 74-70 win over Canisius on Friday, and they've won 2 in a row. And for Georgetown, the week concludes on Saturday when they head to Syracuse to take on an old Big East foe, the Syracuse Orange. Syracuse is currently 4-4, 1-0 in the ACC, 7th place in the conference standings. The Orange are coming off a 62-61 win at Notre Dame on Saturday, thanks to 16 points by Dane Goodwin. And we're wrapping up the college basketball segment with the Virginia Tech Hokies. So Virginia Tech seems to be finding their footing, and they needed a statement win on Sunday. They got one, an 80-72 win over number 18 North Carolina, thanks to 27 points by Justin Mutz. The win improves the Hokies to 8-1, 1-0 in the ACC, tied with Miami for 2nd place in the conference standings, and they've won 3 in a row. They're undefeated in the month of December. So here's the week ahead for Virginia Tech. For Virginia Tech, the week begins on Wednesday when they host the Dayton Flyers. Dayton is currently 5-4. The Flyers are coming off an 80-74 win over Southeast Louisiana on Saturday, thanks to 20 points by Toumani Camara. They've won 2 in a row. They're undefeated in the month of December, just like the Hokies. And for Virginia Tech, the week concludes on Sunday when, just like Maryland, they head to Brooklyn to take on the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Oklahoma State is currently 5-3. The Cowboys are coming off a 74-64 loss at number 8 UConn. Well, that's it for this update, but stay tuned for plenty of great content from Noah, Nadia, and Abdullah as they cover our Commanders during the bye week. Until next time, I'm Evan from DMV Sports Zone, signing off.